this, the Royal Marines Association. The corps formed way back in 1664 as the Admiral's Regiment. We spoke to some of the members of the association marching past here earlier. Since 1942 they've been Britain's commandos with their famous and much coveted green beret. And they're followed by the Fellowship of the Services. Fellowship of the Services came back after the First World War and literally sat around a brazier and decided to set up an organization so they could meet together. The Marines with their battle honour, you can just see the word Gibraltar on that wreath. The military medalists are followed by the Italy Star Association, celebrating the landings in Sicily and the battles at Monte Cassino. Sometimes get forgotten that when the first Allied soldier landed in Normandy on D-Day, these people had already been fighting in Italy for 9 months, followed by the Monte Cassino Society. Every year there's a new anniversary to be marked, and particularly this year was the 65th anniversary of D-Day, the Normandy landings. "84,000 British and Canadian servicemen and women lost their lives during the campaign in Normandy. The National Malaya and Borneo Veterans Association now, the communist insurrection in Malaya at the end of the Second World War, which lasted from 48 to 1960. 100,000 British servicemen involved. Many of them were national servicemen. The British Korean Veterans Association, again a war very largely fought by national servicemen. 40,000 British troops in all served in that war. Over 1,000 killed, over 1,000 taken prisoner of war. A familiar star-shaped figure, always there on parade with the British Korean Veterans Association. Colonel Gadd leads. The wreath's carried by Ron Day, who served with the Norfolk Regiment. And that is Joe Hubble, who's the parade marshal with the hackle from the Black Watch. He's become a yeoman warder at the Tower of London now. Towering figure, always seen in this march past. Green Howards now first saw active service in Ireland in July 1690 at the Battle of the Boyne, and they're called the Green Howards because their colonel was Charles Howard and they wore green uniforms. The other regiment wore buff uniforms or buff facings, and they were called the Buff Howards. And these are the Green Howards being applauded as they go past by somebody who's wearing a hat, very much in support of the poppy appeal of the Royal British Legion. The Green Howards was fought through the First and Second World War. Again, the coveted beret this time of the Parachute Regiment. Field Marshal Montgomery said, "What kind of people are these who wear the red beret? They've jumped from the air and by so doing have conquered fear, shown themselves to be tenacious and determined. They are, in fact, men apart, every man an emperor. This year they were commemorating their famous drop on Pegasus Bridge in June 1944. And also, of course, their operation at Arnhem. The Germans used to call them the Red Devils because of their berets. Now the Royal Green Jackets. Marching for the first time, somebody who wanted this as his birthday present. Lawrence Cecil Curtis, born in 1919. The Royal Green Jackets have been fighting in Afghanistan. They lost 23 there. They're also famous for being the fastest marching regiment in the British Army. I don't know whether he knows that. 140 paces to the minute. Well, they're not doing that this morning because they'd cause total confusion if they did. The Royal Scots, the Royal Regiment First of Foot, the oldest regiment of the line in their distinct Glengarrys, those 4.5 caps. They're the oldest infantry regiment of the line in the British Army. Raised originally for service in France. B Company of 1 Scots in early 2009 was in Afghanistan, and the remainder are going to Helmand in March next year. The Grenadier Guards Association, we were hearing from Patrick Hennessy, who's written vividly about what it's like to be fighting in Afghanistan. He was talking to Sophie Rayworth. Well, these Grenadier Guards have a long, strong regimental tradition. No doubt we'll be remembering those killed last Tuesday in that terrible incident when they were training the Afghani police and one of the trainees turned on them, killed 3 members of the regiment. The Cheshire Regiment Association, the oldest county regiment this in the British Army. It fought particularly bravely at the Battle of Mons in the First World War, when it was attacked by 2 German army corps and in effect saved the British Expeditionary Force. And followed by another county regiment, the Royal Gloucestershire, Berkshire, Wiltshire Regimental Association. So many of these county regiments have been combined. And then the British Gurkha Welfare Society looks after the need of ex-Gurkhas living in Nepal. Doesn't include those living here in the United Kingdom, but raises money for them. Always applause for the Gurkhas. Everybody knows about their daring do and how they go into battle with their kukris and how they're universally feared as soldiers. The white hats of the Bevan boys, the miners, those who were by lottery told not to join the armed forces but to go down the mines. Ernie Bevan gave the name Bevan Boys to them, or they took the name from him. They tried to get 50,000 people to go down the mines. And they quite rightly and proudly take part in this march for the service that they gave in the Second World War. Behind them, the Women's Land Army and the Salvation Army, the Women's Voluntary Service, and First Aid Nursing Yeomanry here, Princess Royal's Volunteer Corps, founded in 1907. Then there's the National Association of Retired Police Officers after them, and the